Welcome back to the show. Now, it was author M. Schlesinger Jr. who said, "It is useful to remember that history is to the nation as memory is to the individual. As a person deprived of memory becomes disorientated and lost, not knowing where they have been or where they're going, so a nation denied a conception of the past will be disabled in dealing with its present and its future." Now, history was removed from Nigeria's basic education curriculum in 2007 with implementation in the 2009-2010 academic session, reportedly due to students avoiding the subject, limited job prospects for history graduates, and also a shortage of qualified history teachers. In 2018, the federal government ordered the nationwide reintroduction of history as an independent subject in primary and junior secondary schools. The Nigerian Educational Research and Development Council was tasked with disarticulating history from the social studies curriculum and designing a new curriculum to help students appreciate history as a tool for national integration and nation building. A total of 3,700 history teachers were shortlisted for training to enhance the teaching of history.
Now, despite these efforts, the subject was not fully reintroduced. In fact, Nigeria has had a questionable history with the teaching of history, the irony, in schools. It was long removed from primary and secondary schools' curricula since 1982, with few schools offering it. President Bola Tinubu's recent directive to once again bring history back into primary and secondary school classrooms aims to address this gap, with the reintroduction of history into the curriculum planned for 2025. Now, the absence of history in the curriculum has been linked to declining morals, erosion of civic values, and a disconnection from the country's past. Joining us now to dissect this further is Joy Issa. She's an education consultant, and she's also the president of Issa School of Education. Happy New Year, Dr. Joy. When I saw her in the makeup studio, I was like, oh, yes, she's so gorgeous.
Yes. Gorgeous.
Absolutely. Thank you. Very kind. It took me a moment
for it to hit like, it is her.
Oh, my goodness.
You know, doing zoom.
Yeah. I started discussing with her, but there was a familiarity to her. Like I knew her. And
when I first came,
such a joy to know.
Hello, good morning. My man, I'm like, I know
no,
this.
You guys are so easy to
And then it clicked. Like,
so easy
it's how she was speaking.
Yeah.
It clicked.
And articulate, educating. Anyway,
You're making me blush.
Don't worry, you're black
to the show, really.
Anyway, history provides insight into the nation's roots, fostering a sense of identity and belonging. It helps individuals understand their cultural, social, and political heritage. I have a daughter who loves history so much. Oh, God. Yeah, scripting. She loves history so much. She's studying history and international studies. And this directive from President Tinubu has been met with different reactions. Some are for it and some are against it. While critics highlight logistical hurdles, such as the need for qualified history teachers, updated teaching materials, and adequate training and funding. Let's start with our initial reaction when your initial reaction when you heard what the president is about to do.
Honestly, it came as a welcome development for me because so many of our young people, even older people, really have lost a sense of Nigeria, a sense of culture. And it is from studying history that you learn about your cultural heritage, you learn about your values, you learn the why behind the proverbs we all love, the moral instructions and things like that. So I was very, very excited about it. And then I thought, goodness, all those textbooks that need to be updated.
Wow.
Yes, all those resources that need to be updated, so many things. And I wondered if this directive was backed up with the requisite funding and the requisite amount of time. Because when something has been out of circulation for so long, I'm not sure 8 months, 9 months between now and September is enough time for publishers to update their textbooks, for NERDC to update the website. Because as of today, I checked again this morning just to be sure.
I know.
The website's still not updated. Wow. With the new developments in the history curriculum, it still says history is from SS1 as opposed to being from primary 1. So it will take time. Curriculum reform takes time. Great initiative, but I'm not sure we have, thought through the amount of time it's going to take us to infuse the relevant
texts, the relevant stories, anecdotes. It is a lot of work.
But it's usually what we do, staying with timing, it's usually what we do. We're kind of, the country, Nigeria, the government, we're like last-minute people. And we just, so timing is everything. So now, like you rightly said, timing is a problem. Okay, so it's supposed to be introduced in the 2025 curriculum, educational year. Now you've talked about 9 months. In 9 months, Rome was not built in a day. We all know this.
Absolutely not.
My question would be that, so how, is there a transition? Is there a plan to ensure that this is going to function smoothly? What does the government see as the end result in doing this? 9 months, in my head, I feel 9 months, if you ask me on this table, 9 months cannot do jack. For me, it can't do that. But the federal government apparently seems to have a plan. So I'm looking at ripple effects. Have the schools been informed?
Do they have a plan, though?
Do they?
I think that's where we need to start from.
Yes.
What is the implementation plan?
Yeah. Do you have history teachers?
So as of right now,
do
you
you
haven't seen or heard of any implementation plan?
No, we might say that because it's a new year, so probably the website hasn't been
But
updated.
because last year you were able to tell everybody that this is what's happening.
Yes.
And because this is a track record, they come out, say something, and then go back to think it
No, we
through.
just hope. We just want to hope with the new year, with the speech.
History. We repeat it.
This is this year. Hello, how are you this year?
No, she's doing soft girl, but soft girl is carrying heavy stick.
History will repeat itself.
So we need to be hopeful. We do need to have
Hope
faith
is not a
that,
strategy.
I agree with you. However, I think that there are schools who have already have history in the cooler. So there are schools who have information, who have Lagos State, to be honest, has a site I don't necessarily want to mention where curricula are published and history is included. So yes, you can get schemes of work and things like that show and include clear topics where it's been delineated from social studies and civics education. However, this is a federal government directive.
Yes.
So there are states that already have elements of history in their different curricula.
Yeah.
Yes. And of course the private schools who they infuse British history, American history, Canadian history, world history. However, we cannot undermine the impact and the importance of our local history.
Yeah.
This is why some of our children don't value Nigeria as a space to identify with.
Especially
So
when
that's actually where we wanted to go next, because we talk about history shaping identities, providing a window into our past, helping us to understand who we are and where we are actually going. But we've seen that the teaching of history in primary and secondary schools has been marginalized. So there are people who have said it's declining morals, erosion of civic values, disconnection from the past. We also had former President Olusegun Obasanjo in June 2024 describing the removal of history as a huge disaster. So I really want you to sort of expatiate on that. What has the removal of history cost us? What are the consequences, as you said, about this disconnection? Young people having absolutely no connection. They have more connection to the US and the UK because of Hollywood, because of Bollywood, because of movies and entertainment. They know more about their history there than they know about the history
Even
here.
Ghanaian history, Malian history, another country history
A
than
simple
ours.
example. If I were to ask any of our young children, who was Jaja of Opobo and what did he do? Exactly. What was the impact of, when we're looking at female empowerment, getting women to be strong and to have a voice? What did Mary Celeste do? And who was she?
Who was even Queen Amina?
Who was Queen Amina? So when we remove these historical figures, when we don't study historical figures, we don't think they're precedents to our present. But when we find links and we say, oh, because she was able to stand up and thrive in a male-dominated space at that time, okay, I can be an engineer. I can, travel to space. I can do these things that, are traditionally identified as masculine subjects and spaces to play with. So that's one area when we talk about empowering women. Generally, though, we have young people who just think, you just wake up in the world and identify as whatever you want to identify as. However, when you're grounded in culture and you understand, look, these are my people, these are the things we believe in, and what we stand for. These are the values we have, and this is why we respond to people in Africa. We respect our elders. And that is part of our heritage.
Yes.
And so you don't just wake up and tell your mom, oh yeah, mom, what's up? No, I'm not listening to what you're saying.
Yeah.
Are you joking?
Yeah.
Bro. Yeah, exactly. You look at your mom and say, bro. Like, bro.
I say that all the
Yeah,
time.
you know?
To your mom? No, that's to my mom.
You know, but without a foundation, without understanding why do we respect our elders?
Yeah.
Why?
You
What's
just
the
you
reason?
talk to a young person,
Yeah.
say, one day we should get young people on the table.
Yeah.
Because they will probably say, oh, because we grew up seeing that.
And so speaking of
You know,
that, I also want to speak as a young person now. Jaja Opobo you mentioned, Mary Celeste you mentioned, I know that because I was taught in school to a particular limit. Where I was taught to is where I know to. It's like, and then I see that a lot of elderly people blame younger people. Oh, I'm asking, why is this rock here? Why is it named Zumarok? And you're like, how don't you know? I don't know because nobody taught me. You know, it's like growing up, your parents are speaking. For example, my mom spoke Yoruba to me growing up, right? I'm an Oguri girl, right? We have a link to Yoruba, but now I speak more Yoruba that I don't even understand Oguri. So it's like someone blaming me for not knowing how to speak Oguri when all you spoke to me was Yoruba.
Yes.
So it's like now we're grown and we feel alienated from our history because it's like we're just living. For example, I'm staying in Lagos. I don't know a lot of things about Lagos, and I'm not interested because nothing really piqued my interest. Nobody told me how important it was.
I want to just, dwell on that a little bit. Young minds are open books.
Yes.
Yeah. And when we do not plant the right seeds, there's nothing is going to
Weed
germinate.
seeds will come in there
Exactly.
and
You have
germinate.
weeds all over the place. So looking at Nigeria, so I know there are issues with insecurity, but when you're exposed to the history of Nigeria, then you want to, from Lagos, visit Bauchi because you want to go to the game reserve and check out the warm springs.
That's if it's still there.
It is still there.
At least for now, it's still
Yes,
there.
it's still there. Yes, it is, and it's active. You want to go to Agungi Festival.
Yes.
You want to, you just want to explore your country as opposed to going to Disney World and Disney Paris and Disney this and Disney that. There's such rich cultural heritage in Nigeria, and as Africans, as Nigerians, we need to stir up this desire, this interest. That comes in school, where in a fun way, we create a, when we teach history in schools, we create, we create scenarios. And so the year 1, 5 to 6-year-olds might all be Fulani people. And they all come dressed, they understand the culture of Mandafodiok, they experience that culture. And that might help us better address the issues of ethnicism that we have in our country, where she's Igbo, I'm not speaking to her, she's Hausa, I'm not giving her a job. So the lines of the ethnic divides may be further diminished
with an understanding.
we reintroduce history effectively.
So that is a very key word, because I want us to get to that, but let's build up to that part of the conversation.
We've been talking about a lot of things. A lot of times when people are choosing things to study, they are thinking of the job prospects after. So I don't think this thing is just limited to this issue of job prospects and the shortage of qualified history teacher. All these things can change in time. But Nigeria is also facing a critical shortage of qualified teachers to man primary and secondary school in both urban and rural areas.
Sure.
So Universal Education Commission survey from 2024 indicated that there's a shortage of about 194,876 teachers in public schools across the country. That's a huge lot. UBEC has also earlier stated that Nigeria has a shortage of 277,537 teachers at the basic level. So where are we going to find these qualified history teachers? Is this something that can be sorted out in time before the school year has already started? Let's even leave the school year that is running already. Let's look at September. Do you think, now that we're having a general shortage of teachers, let me not say teachers, qualified teachers, because these days we have to qualify it, because there are all sorts of teachers all over the place.
Absolutely.
But many of them are not qualified. So how do we bridge this gap?
To even qualify in the first place, you have to do that TRCN exam. I did my exam 2022 or so, and the exam is tiered. So you can be qualified at the NCE level, the bachelor's level, master's level, or a doctorate level. There are so many people looking for jobs, but unfortunately, ours is not the best, most attractive profession in the world.
Yeah.
You know, we're overworked and underpaid as teachers generally worldwide, and it's not peculiar to Nigeria. So the issue is not a lack of human beings who want to work in the education space. It's lack of qualified people. They haven't gone through an education degree, no PGD, nothing. They just finished school. You know, I studied mathematics, but I can't get a job. I can't teach the children. And you know nothing about pedagogy or andragogy or anything like that, and so the children suffer. There are more private schools than public schools because of the population of children. So we have, the private schools who pay a bit more are now attracting the qualified teachers, which is further impacting the amount of qualified teachers in the public system. The government, therefore, cannot afford to reduce or the budget.
They need to make being a public school teacher attractive
again, and you can only do that by increasing the percentage of the budget allocated to education. How can we only have 5.5% of the entire budget allocated to education, as opposed to 15% that is recommended?
But they're
by
telling
UNESCO?
us that it's the most that has ever been allocated, and we should be
We
appreciative
understand
of that.
However, it's still not enough. The fact that you tell me, oh, you know, you're taking paracetamol, but I'm supposed to take 500 milligrams and you're giving me 250. What's the impact of that? Yeah, so the impact of that on your well-being. So to bring transformation as a whole, there needs to be a long-term plan.
Yeah.
And it's not to initiate this in 2025.
No, initiation is good because we must it's better to start late than never. So start it off. However, there needs to be a long-term plan. Usually you change and implement curriculum changes over 3 years.
Yes.
Wow.
And so textbooks are updated, teachers are trained, things like that. It takes 3 years.
But you know, I don't even have a problem with starting wrong. And when I say starting wrong, I mean just start, but have a plan in place. Okay,
That's
fine.
the problem.
History,
What's the plan?
The history curriculum has not been updated, but in the next few months, some of it will be updated. In the next few months, more percentage will be updated. I don't have a problem with that, but the plan is the issue. You're going to say?
So probably, if they had, I was going to say, you know, here, there are things that galvanize action. So I was going to say, except they have a contract to speed
Things of
speed racer.
maybe there's a funding type.
Like
I think what you're getting at, maybe like a World Bank funding.
Yes,
that's
okay.
funding.
Let's steadily run into people's pockets.
But when we're still grappling with even putting funding in things that are very important, the education system has been suffering for years.
Yes.
So this is not a peculiar problem. It's an endemic problem. It's systematic. It's in here. So we're even looking at tertiary. Tertiary has been shouting and screaming out of their mouth.
Yes.
But who is shouting and screaming for the foundation?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And one more thing I'd like to add. Yes, you may have funding to run this. That's good. There's a difference between education in the urban space, in the suburban, and in the rural space. So in the urban centers where we have access to digital technology, a couple schools have, you know, IT centers. Okay, roll out the curriculum and make everything E. What is happening to the schools in Udo Village, in Ajiron Village? When are the new textbooks going to get there?
To them.
When are those teachers going to be trained? That is why it takes time.
So you know what?
We need that time.
I'm really curious about this because I had put it further down, but looking at the time, I can't wait for this question because we have to even look at it. You mentioned it lightly, but this is my greatest concern is how we're reintroducing history to the curriculum. You've talked about publishers needing to update their textbooks. Update their textbooks up to what? Update their textbooks about how? How do we reintroduce history into the curriculum in a way that reflects Nigeria's diverse cultural and historical background? What are the specific areas? Because the history is not going to be all-encompassing. We're still going to have to focus on and pick things along the timeline of Nigeria's history. But more importantly, how do we teach issues like the Civil War? That's going to be a thorny situation. People have to sit down and agree on how the Civil War is going to be taught nationally.
Because there are different sides to the story.
Different sides of the story.
Yes,
So
just like the Biafra story.
I think
from
what they're
different
gonna do for
angles,
that-
you get the history.
And I'm
They're gonna
concerned
scramble.
with teaching history and then erasing parts of history because we want to keep it neat and clean and we don't want to step on anybody's toes.
I must say that happens worldwide.
Yes,
honestly.
we're seeing, especially in the US, we're seeing
exactly. We see what's going on in America now. So there is selective history. However, academics and curriculum developers understand the need to stick to the why. Why are we teaching history? We're teaching history to promote citizenship, to promote respect and a sense of culture and value, morals and things. So that's what you bring out, that's what you highlight through the history. So when you talk about the historical figures and their impact, you highlight that bit.
Yeah.
When you trace the timelines of dynasties and kingdoms, then you now come to more modern history where you trace the timelines of governments and political events and things that, should I say, altered the course of a nation. You try as much as possible to keep it apolitical. No affiliations, no biases, and that is the job of the academics. Having said that, children ask questions.
Absolutely.
So depending on where they're from, they will ask questions, and that is important as well, because if we don't question the rationale behind, like you said, the Civil War and why a side did this and the other side did that, history will repeat itself. So I don't think we should be nervous about the aspects or the angles, but that we have something that tells us this is what happened. People have different opinions about it. This was the impact on the nation, Nigeria,
at the time.
And we shouldn't repeat this because of, possible future reoccurrences. And this is now why we have NYSC, where everybody's supposed to mix with everybody. So, just to highlight the why and show how it's supposed to bring us together.
I'm listening to you and I'm thinking to myself that, okay, now that we even know, okay, how to do this thing, who is talking to the government? Because it's a different thing that our president has made a statement and issued a directive. We heard that. But who are the stakeholders that are engaging him personally? Because I know that he cannot just make a directive in isolation.
No.
There must be some kind of engagement, because all these wonderful things that how this is to be purposed should be part of things, thought about. Who are the people engaging the president?
Who should be at the table?
Or who should be at the table? Because
So the Ministry of Education is responsible for this ultimately. However, NERDC owns the curriculum.
Please, NERDC is
the National Education Research, NERDC Development Commission. So focused on everything to do with researching, education, curriculum. So NERDC is owns the publication of curriculum.
Okay.
So NERDC owns it, but current educational practices, current teaching methods, teachers, educators, practitioners, stakeholders at the grassroots need to be invited to the table to make these decisions. And this is a worldwide argument. People like us who call ourselves little activists, to say the professors should stop talking about curriculum in isolation. They haven't been in the classroom for years. Those of us who have been in the classroom and have come out are the ones who should be called in. Teachers who are currently in the classroom should be invited to share their practices. In 1945, we used to teach with chalk and blackboard. Now we're teaching with interactive desktops. There's no way you can use that same ideology and methodology.
There's no way.
But in our colleges of education, in our schools of education, we're still teaching teachers to teach to the 19th century or to the 20th century mind.
Wow.
Dr. Issa, when was the last, I know that every time curriculum wants to change, there's supposed to be a meeting.
Yes.
A review. When was the last national curriculum review meeting?
Honestly, can't remember.
Wow.
Honestly,
And because
I cannot remember.
we're talking about reintroducing history. I think it's a fantastic idea. I hope we are able to implement it, and I hope in 5 years we see the benefits of it.
Yes.
But we're also in the Internet of Things. We're in the 4th Industrial Revolution. We're in cloud computing. These people are not waiting till students are in university to teach. They're teaching from primary and secondary school.
Yes.
And so if we're looking at reintroducing history to tell our children where we're coming from, who we are, we should also be marrying that with the introduction of curriculum that helps them to become globally competitive and global citizens for the future. So if we can't even if Dr. John is of all people, can I remember when the last national curriculum review was, and now we have a directive from the president. I'm so sorry, are we serious? Are we serious?
I mean, to be honest, in I think it was 2008, 2014, that NERDC did publish the e-curriculum, if I remember correctly, 2014. Somebody should probably check that out. I'm seeing 12 years ago, but I remember 2014 for the e-curriculum. And that was great. We should review our curriculum for every 5 to 7 years.
I heard it was
to
5 years.
update practices. With the exponential change or advancement in technology, a lot of the content of the curriculum is obsolete. And so we're setting ourselves up to be behind other nations.
Yeah.
This is why there's a proliferation of private schools who are forward-thinking. I mean, there's a school, one of the schools I worked at early on in my career, when Ebola came up, 2013, we went online the next day.
So you guys, they didn't even wait till COVID?
No. Ebola, 2013. Every child was online, was on I'm not supposed to mention platforms anyway.
Different kinds of platforms.
Yes, and every child was able to go online. Now, before we did that, the parents had been kicking and screaming, oh, technology is bad, it's going to corrupt our children. But because there was a group of forward-thinking educators, we were able to do that. It's not rocket science and can be done at a national level. However, it has to be scaled. What is possible in urban areas is very different from what is possible in rural areas. And so we should be mindful of the fact that we cannot focus our development on one area.
Absolutely.
And so everyone in the metropolitan cities knows what's up. And everyone in the village is like 200 years behind.
So I went and checked for it. So it was said last year by the former Minister of Education, Tahir Maman, that the federal government had introduced 15 different trades and skills into new curriculum for basic schools in Nigeria. And that was supposed to be for public and private schools mandatory across the country and implemented from basic 3 to junior secondary school. So they were introducing various trades and it was expected to take effect from January 2025. Where January 2025, Dr. Issa. Before that, after that, this was a meeting that was unveiled at the 68th National Council of Education meeting, which was 12 years after the current one was launched. Again, I'm asking, are we serious? So they're meant to introduce plumbing, hairstyling, beekeeping, robotics, makeup. We're in January 2025. Where is it?
Am I going to teach tiling? How am I suddenly able to teach tiling to a child in primary 1? How is that relevant when our literacy levels are still so low? Numeracy levels are still so low. Digital competencies are still so low. The only plus, I will honestly say, is that the choices are optional. So you don't have to do all 15. You choose one. You focus on that, gain that skill.
But have schools taken it up?
No, again, where are the textbooks? Where's the training for the teachers? It was a directive, yes.
And it has stayed a directive.
Yes, it's still a directive.
And directive with no,
no
foundation to work.
There's never enough time. Did you not hear music playing? There's never enough time.
We are our own little governments. People are now teaching
children. And we have to say a very big thank you to her for sharing her profound insights and expertise with us today. This conversation has shed light on the critical importance of reintroducing history into Nigerian primary and secondary schools. And more than that, we have a curriculum issue. And we need to address it. It also looks at the potential to shape a generation of informed, culturally aware, and patriotic citizens. And to our viewers, this means that you yourself are a stakeholder. You're a stakeholder for your child, for the school that your child attends, and for the generation your child will grow up in. And hopefully, we will all be part of this call. We'll say a very big thank you. Once again, Dr. Issa, thank you so much for joining us.
Having me.
We will see you guys at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. Another great conversation. Don't forget, Wednesday is our 1-year anniversary.